Hey there, I'm Kat, and this is Brews and Reviews. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in June, and actually I had a really good reading month this month, so I'm going to get straight into this because I read quite a lot. First up, I finished reading Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J Maas. I give this one 5 out of 5 stars. It's the final book in the Throne of Glass series. I loved it. I loved it even more on reread, and I only read this book one day in June. I read most of it in May, but I did finish it off on the 1st of June. I'm very happy with that, and I feel like this book has just so many amazing ending of the series beats. I say this every time I talk about this book, but it gives me feelings like when I've watched Lord of the Rings Return of the King and I'm like, and breathe. The adventure is over. Then next up I read Unseelie by Evelise Hausman. Now this is a book about twin sisters, one of whom is a changeling fae. And that changeling fae is also autistic, so she is very different in a number of different ways. And her sister are on the run, and they get involved in something that they shouldn't have been involved in that sets them on a completely different course of events with very powerful people, and it's all very dangerous. I really like that you got the feeling that fae were very dangerous in this book, and there were different types of creatures that had different motivations, and I really enjoyed it. I actually really loved the fantasy autistic representation. I feel like it was really well done, and I felt a lot for the main character. Some of the other characters were less understanding of the main character and the things that she did because she is autistic, and it got my nerves a little bit because I was like, why can't you just understand a little bit? But that's me as an autistic person wondering why neurotypical people don't understand things that neurodiverse people might. I don't know. I enjoyed the book though, and I am definitely going to be reading the sequel to this. I don't know if the sequel's out yet, but I'm definitely going to be picking it up. Then next up I read Morning Glory Milking Farm by C.M. Nascosta, who I just recently realised I've been saying their name wrong the entire time. I keep calling them C.M. Nacosta and it's C.M. Nascosta. So my apologies. This is a reread for me, and it's just really fun. I like that it knows it's a bit silly, it knows it's tongue-in-cheek, but it's also really good. It's about a woman who gets a job at this pharmaceutical company, and the medicinal properties of Minotaur semen is used, and she is a milking technician. And she gets to know one of her clients. He's very friendly, they have the chemistry, then they have the biology. Anyway, it's really fun. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Next up was a reread of The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is a great book. I love it. I don't know what to say about this. If you don't know what The Lord of the Rings is about, what planet have you been living on? This is the second book in that series, and I just really enjoy how cozy this is for me. It's just like being wrapped up in like a warm blanket with a cup of coffee, and it's just nice. I don't know. Also, I love all the bromances. I feel like this book, particularly of the trilogy, is very heavy in bromance, and I really like the non-toxic masculinity, so yeah, love it. 5 out of 5 stars. Then next up I did a buddy read with Emily from Novell Novels, and we read The Mark of Athena by Rick Riordan. This is the 3rd book in the Heroes of Olympus series, so I won't talk too much about the plot, but this story is particularly focused around Annabeth and a quest that is very specific to her. I love this book. I had forgotten how good this series gets when all of the different characters come together, but it really, really shines, and top notch. One of the other things that I really enjoy is that the ending of this book feels particularly deadly. It feels like the situations that the main characters find themselves in are deadly. They are not like a kid's game monster. They are things that are going to potentially end the main characters in horrible ways, and I loved it. 5 out of 5. Then next up I read Twisted Game by Eva Ashwood. This is a book I put on my TBR a couple of months ago and then never got around to reading it. Now I've finally read it, and I actually enjoyed it. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. This is a dark romance book about a woman who witnesses 3 guys murder a man, and then they sort of take an interest in her to try and keep her quiet, but also romantically. Now, there are things about this that I didn't really like. It's kind of weird that they're all brothers trying to get with one woman sometimes at the same time. It's a bit predictable, like a lot of the same things happen. Like, for some reason, everybody really is attracted to this one woman and they just want to do horrible things to her. So maybe look up the trigger warnings for this one before you decide to read it. And also, quite a lot of this book is not smut. If you are coming to this book for smut, then you'd be waiting a while, but there is like a couple of scenes in this one. I did also end up reading the sequel to this, which is Beautiful Devils, and that one is 90% smut. So, I mean, it kind of makes up for it. And that is a better book, although I did skim the plot, let's be honest, because the plot was not that interesting to me, but hey-ho. Both of them ended on cliffhangers though, which I don't enjoy anyway. I hate cliffhangers, and I think they should be banned. I get that they're very effective, because it did make me read the second one, and indeed pick up the third one, which I am currently reading as we speak. But like, please don't give me a cliffhanger. I don't want it. I don't want that. Also, in terms of this series as a whole, I feel like this will particularly appeal to you if you're looking at like voyeuristic exhibitionist type things. There's a lot of that. So I gave Twisted Game 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I gave Beautiful Devils 4 out of 5 stars. Then next up I read Still Hung Up on You by Liz Maverick. Now this is an Audible original. I basically had a couple of migraines and I really wanted to read something, but I didn't want to read something that was like heavy on my brain. So I picked up a couple of the really short Audible like audio plays, and this was one of them. So this one's about a woman who contacts her ex-boyfriend from when she was like in high school, and she's trying to get a sweater back from him that was like her dad's sweater, and he's like, yeah, sure, you can go around my house, I'm not there, but you can. And then they talk on the phone, and it's really cute and romance. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. To be honest, it did exactly what I was looking for it to do. It wasn't like an amazing book, but I went into that book for like easy switch my brain off, happy romance vibes, and that is what I got, so feel like it delivered. 4 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up One of Those Flings by Laura Blakely. This is an even shorter audio play, and it's about a woman who goes on holiday, I believe. Either she goes on holiday or she goes to a wedding, and she's just taken a year off of dating people, and she's trying to do things that she wouldn't normally do, and she goes like scuba diving, and the instructor is there looking hot, and romance. I give this one 3 out of 5 stars. It was really too short to really go anywhere, but again, it delivered what it said on the tin. Then I went for the longer version of the same vibe, and that is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. Now, I picked up this book knowing that it was kind of like Alexis from Schitt's Creek if she was in a fisherman's village. And it kind of was. It was really cute though, I did enjoy it a lot. I think I liked it for the romance aspect. I did find some of the dirty talk a little bit ick/cringe. Just something about it that just didn't quite work for me. It might work for other people though. I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars, and it is really fun, and I'll definitely be reading the sequel to this one. The next book I read was Coffee, Milk and Spider Silk by Coyote J.M. Edwards, and this is a book that I picked up because it gave kind of Legends and Lattes vibes, in the sense that it was about a retired guard who was like a spider person, a drider, that's what they're called, opening a coffee shop because it was her dream. Just like a middle-aged drider that's just decided to open up a coffee shop, and there's a lot of different like fantastical creatures that exist in there. She collects a found family, and it's basically about her opening this coffee shop. It's fun. It was not really Legends and Lattes vibes. It was very short, and it didn't have the same quality of writing and feeling around the characters, I think, but it was still cute. I will say though, I got very confused about the anatomy of a drider, because at one point it said that she had 6 arms and 8 legs, and I was very confused because spiders only have 8 appendages, so I feel like 8 and then 6 just makes no sense to me at all. I thought maybe like 8 and then 2, like human hands, are they like a centaur? Can somebody please explain to me the anatomy of a drider, because I don't understand. I just feel like I'm very confused about this. Maybe they were using arms and legs interchangeably and there were only actually 8 appendages, but I just really didn't understand the logistics of where this body arm things were. So if anyone could explain that to me, I'd be really grateful, because I'm still confused to this day. I gave that one 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then next up I continued my quest to read cozy, happy romance things, and I read The Roommate by Rosie Danner. This book follows a socialite who's moved to LA in an attempt to hook up with the guy that she's always fancied. Only when she gets there, he says, oh, by the way, my band and I are going on the road, so I've just got this other guy that's gonna live in my room. He's gonna rent the room, so you're gonna be living with him, and see you, bye. And she's like, excuse me? Excuse me? Anyway, things get a little bit more heated when he's insanely attractive, and it turns out he's also a porn star. I actually thought this book was really interesting because it does go into the porn industry in terms of morals and ways that people are, and I don't want to necessarily say manipulated, but like how the industry can be used against people. And this book is trying to make it a more positive view on the porn industry, I guess. It was really interesting, and I liked like the overarching plot of this, and the romance was also very good. I enjoyed that. It was good. 4 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up The Andromeda Strain by Michael Crichton. This is a book that I've had on my TBR for ages, and I thought, plague book, why not? It's a sci-fi book about an outbreak of this kind of disease that has come down with a satellite and killed an entire town, and then it's the people who are trying to work out what's happened, things that go wrong. I feel like there is a really interesting thing that Michael Crichton does, and he does it in Jurassic Park as well, where you see all of the things that added up to make things go wrong, and I feel like certain aspects of that were replicated in this book. It didn't quite live up to what I was expecting it to live up to, but then I'm not necessarily mad about it. I don't know, the end was an interesting end. It didn't go where I was expecting it to go. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I definitely will be picking up the second one because I am curious to see where it goes next. The next book that I read was Waylander II in the Realm of the Wolf. If you want to know my full thoughts on this one, then you should probably go and check out the review I did for this. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. This is the sequel book to Waylander. It features some of the same characters from the book Waylander, and it's just so good. I loved it so much. In this book, Waylander the assassin is being hunted by other assassins. Somebody's put a price on his head, and he's trying to figure out why and not also be killed. But honestly, he is Waylander, so trying to sneak up on him and assassinate him is just like a bad idea. He's just a very, very skillful assassin, and it's great to see. I feel like you actually get to see it in this book, and it's really 10 out of 10. Loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up another short audible audio play called Bridesmates, and that is by Sydney Smith. This one's about a guy who is returning to his hometown because his best friend is getting married, and the best man of the guy that she's marrying is a guy that he sort of had a crush on when he was in school, and then romance happens. It's very short and cute. And yeah, again, it did what it said on the tin, so I was satisfied with it. Gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. This is another book that I've had on my TBR for such a long time. I was doing like super good work this month, picking up a load of books that I have just had on my shelves for ages. And I finally decided to pick this one up, and it was so cute. I loved it. This book follows a seamstress who is enlisted by a prince in secret to design dresses for him as he becomes his alter ego, the Lady Crystalia. And I just thought it was really lovely, and there were so many things that were really cool about this, and some things that were not as great, but like you expect to happen in the story. I feel like it's quite predictable, but like I'm not mad, and I loved the ending. So I just feel like I really enjoyed it. I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then lastly, I finally finished off Three Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. I expected this book to be one thing, and it definitely was not quite what I expected. So this book is set in a world where there are 3 different states of magic, and every time a queen gives birth, it will give birth to triplets who have one of the abilities that is available. So there's a poisoner, a naturalist, and an elementalist. And they live together for a bit, and then they're all separated because when they become of age, they all need to fight, and only one will come out alive, essentially. So this book follows all 3 of these princesses before they get to the point where they're allowed to start killing each other. And I've got to say, I was a bit confused because we kept switching between place and place, and there's a lot of names and a lot of different like people involved with each of these stories, and like it did confuse me a little bit. I was listening to the audiobook. I feel like even if I hadn't been, at first I would still have been confused because I just get confused with people's names sometimes. And I feel like this was written in a really specific style that was interesting but not necessarily making it better to read. I think it has something to do with short sentences and like the way that each of these characters thinks. It was a really interesting way of writing, but it didn't really stick in my head. It felt like a lot of like broken pauses and things like that. And also I could have done with chapter numbers. I hate not having chapter numbers. Give me a chapter number, please. It would just make my life so much easier if there were chapter numbers rather than just place names, because I don't remember the name of the place that the specific person is in. Please tell me a chapter number, please. It just make it much easier to find in the book. Anyway, that's just me complaining about that. I just want to talk briefly about the book's ending. So if you don't want to hear me talk about that, this is the last book that I'm going to talk about, so you can turn me off now, it's fine. But if you don't mind being spoiled for the end of this book, then I managed to guess the twist. I thought it was pretty obvious for quite a while because of various little clues hidden throughout, like the fact that the Poisoner Queen had a snake, and the fact that they just neither of them really had any powers. I just thought it was really interesting. I was like, somebody's definitely switched these girls. Somebody's got this wrong. They're definitely in the wrong place. So the poisoner is actually the naturalist, and the naturalist is actually the poisoner. I feel like that's really interesting. And yeah, it does make me want to read the next one, but also The rest of it doesn't really make me want to read the next one, but I kind of do want to read the next one. And also, I got very confused about all of the different suitors and who did what in various times, because I was like, there's too many names. There's so many names in this book and I got really confused. I think maybe because I wasn't as invested as I maybe could have been, and that probably would have helped me understand who the different characters were, because everyone was moving around and going to different places and seeing different sisters, and I was like, I can't separate these people. Where are they? I'm confused. I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I probably will read the next one. So there we have it. Those are all the books that I read in June. I feel like I had a really good reading month, even though some of those were much shorter books. But like, I feel like sometimes when I've got migraines, I just want to read specific things, and you know, why not? Why not? So anyway, if you made it to this part in the video and you're still with me, then please leave me a crown emoji for 3 dark crowns. And if you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!